"You always leave your window open," she said, her voice carrying softly across the narrow balcony that separated our apartments. "Aren't you cold?" I looked up from the book resting on my lap. Her light was on again, the warm amber glow spilling through sheer curtains, painting her in honeyed gold. She stood there, leaning slightly over the railing, a mug in her hand, steam curling into the night air. "Not really," I said. "Guess I got used to it." Her mouth tilted, a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Used to being alone?" That one caught me off guard. She didn't mean it like a question, but it hung there between us, heavier than the evening air. She was Elena, mid-40s, recently moved in after a quiet separation, or so the whispers went. Everything about her felt composed. The way she dressed, the way she spoke, even how she carried silence. But there was a small tremor beneath that calm, something that made her seem more real than anyone I knew my age. We talked like that most nights. Short exchanges through the balcony gap, separated by a few feet of space and 20 years of life. That night, though, the air felt different. The sky was gray, swollen with unshed rain. My heater had broken, so I sat wrapped in a blanket, trying to read. When the knock came, it was light, hesitant. I opened the door, and there she was, in a long sweater that fell to her thighs, her hair still damp from a shower. She looked smaller somehow, her confidence softened by the chill that had settled in. "Sorry," she said, brushing a wet strand from her cheek. "My heat's gone out again. The building manager isn't answering. Do you mind if I stay here for a bit? Just until it warms up." I stepped aside. She moved past me slowly, careful not to meet my eyes for too long. The scent of her, faint citrus and something floral, filled the space before her words did. She sat on the couch, hugging her knees, glancing around my small apartment like it was a memory she didn't mean to walk into. I offered her tea. She nodded, then added quietly, "You don't have to fuss. It's colder than I expected." The kettle hissed. Steam clouded the kitchen light. Behind me, I could feel her watching, the air between us drawn tight and thin. When I handed her the cup, our fingers brushed. Not by accident, not entirely. Her skin was cold, but her touch lingered, just long enough to make the heat in my chest rise. She looked at me then, really looked, and something flickered in her expression. Question maybe, or recognition. "You're warm," she said, half a whisper, eyes drifting to the space between us. "So are you," I said back, even though it wasn't true. The silence after that stretched, soft but heavy, the kind that makes every sound, the rain starting outside, the faint ticking of the clock, feel too loud. She smiled faintly, eyes still down. "You shouldn't say things like that," she murmured. "Why not?" "Because," she said, standing slowly, setting her cup aside, "I might start believing you." The lights flickered once, twice, the storm outside finally breaking. She moved closer, stopping just within arm's reach. For a moment, I thought she'd touch my face. Instead, she brushed a hand against my sleeve, almost testing the distance between us. Her voice was low when she spoke again. "It's cold," she said, barely audible. "Maybe you could." Then, a sharp knock at her door next door. She froze. I didn't move. Her eyes met mine, caught between apology and something else, before she turned and walked back into the rain-lit hallway. The door closed behind her, and I realized I was still holding her warmth in my hand. She didn't come by the next evening. Her curtains stayed drawn, lights low. From my balcony I could hear faint music, old jazz, the kind people put on when they're trying not to think too loudly. I told myself it didn't matter, that she was probably fine. But when the rain started again, I found myself standing outside her door, coffee mug in hand. No real reason except that it felt wrong not to. I knocked once, twice. Nothing. Then the door cracked open. Elena stood there in a loose shirt, her hair tied up carelessly, eyes soft with surprise. "You shouldn't be here," she said, voice hoarse, like she hadn't spoken in hours. "I know," I said. You left your sweater here." It wasn't true. The sweater still hung over my chair. But she looked down at my hand, empty except for the mug, and her mouth curved in a tired smile. "Come in," she said, stepping aside. The apartment smelled faintly of wine and rain. Half a glass sat on the table, a novel splayed open face down. I noticed the framed photo near the shelf, her and a man, probably her ex-husband. His arm draped around her shoulders, her smile polite. She caught me looking. "That was years ago." I nodded, unsure what to say. "He used to travel a lot," she went on quietly, like the words had been waiting. "At some point, I stopped expecting him to come back. But I never said anything. It's strange what you get used to." The way she said it, not bitter, just resigned, made my chest tighten. I wanted to tell her I understood, that silence can feel like safety until it starts to ache. But I didn't. Instead, I sat down beside her. She poured me some of her wine. Her fingers brushed mine when she passed the glass. Deliberate or not, I couldn't tell. "You're too young to sit around with an old neighbor and her sad stories," she said. "I don't mind," I said. "You don't talk like someone old." That made her laugh, low and genuine. "Flattery," she said, shaking her head. "Dangerous habit. Only if it's not true." The laughter faded, but her gaze didn't move. For a few seconds, neither of us looked away. The space between us shrank, slow, unintentional, like gravity doing what it does. She reached for her glass again, and her hand brushed my shoulder, lingering there just long enough to make everything else blur. Her breath touched my cheek when she spoke. "You should go before I forget what's appropriate," she whispered. I stayed still. Her fingers tightened briefly, as if fighting her own command. Outside, thunder rolled, long and low. She finally stood, stepping back toward the door, forcing a small, shaky smile. "Thank you for checking on me," she said. I wanted to say something, anything that didn't sound like goodbye, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I nodded and turned to leave. As I reached the door, her voice came again, softer than the rain outside. "Next time," she said, "you don't need a reason." I looked back. She was still standing there, bare feet, damp eyes, hand resting against the wall like she needed it to stay upright. And for the first time, I realized how much she needed to be touched, and how much I wanted to be the one who did. She started stopping by in the evenings. Small reasons, always the same tone of casual that wasn't casual at all. A leaking faucet, a flickering light, a question about which streaming service was worth the money. I never asked why she didn't just call maintenance. I didn't need to. That night, she came with a bottle of wine and a laugh that didn't sound practiced. Her cheeks were a little flushed, her hair loose around her face. "Don't look at me like that," she said. "It's Friday. I figured you wouldn't say no to company." I didn't. We sat on the couch, closer than usual. The movie we picked played mostly in the background, low light flickering across her profile. Every time she leaned forward to pour more wine, her sleeve brushed against my arm. Every time she laughed, it landed somewhere deep in my chest. Halfway through, a text buzzed on her phone. She checked it quickly, her smile fading. "Everything okay?" She hesitated. "My sister. She wants to know if I'm alone tonight." I tried to laugh, but it came out thin. "And are you?" She turned her head toward me, slow, deliberate. "Not exactly." For a moment, neither of us breathed. Her phone buzzed again, but she didn't look this time. "I shouldn't be here," she said quietly. "People already talk about us." She smiled sadly. "They don't have to. They just see a woman my age and a boy like you and fill in the blanks." "I'm not a boy," I said. Her eyes flicked down to my mouth, then back up. "I know." The silence after that wasn't empty. It was full of every word neither of us wanted to say. The movie rolled on, forgotten. Her hand rested near mine on the couch, close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating off her skin. When I shifted slightly, our fingers touched, just the edge of contact, and she didn't move away. The sound of footsteps echoed faintly in the hall. Someone knocked next door, her door. She jumped. "Wait," she whispered, standing abruptly. But the knock didn't come again. Whoever it was, they left. The quiet after felt heavier than before. I rose, meeting her eyes. She was close now, close enough that I could see the fine line of freckles across her collarbone, the pulse at her throat. "I should go," she said, barely breathing it. "Do you want to?" Her lips parted, but no sound came. She looked at me like someone standing at the edge of something they both want and fear, eyes bright, searching. For a long second, the distance between us was just air, thin and fragile. Then the movie's credits rolled, breaking the spell. She stepped back, almost stumbling, then caught herself with a laugh that wasn't quite steady. "You make it very hard to leave," she said. "Then don't." Her eyes softened. She reached out, fingertips grazing my cheek, then dropped her hand like it burned. "Good night," she whispered. The door clicked behind her, but her scent, and the warmth of that almost touch, stayed long after she was gone. It had been 3 days since she last came by. 3 long, quiet evenings. No wine, no flickering light between our apartments. Just the sound of her window shutting before nightfall. On the 4th night, I gave up pretending not to care. I knocked, once, then again. When she opened the door, I almost turned back. Her eyes were red, not from crying, maybe from not sleeping. She was in an oversized sweater again, sleeves swallowing her hands. "Elena," I said, softer than I meant to. She blinked, as if surprised to hear her own name out loud. "You shouldn't be here," she murmured. "You've said that before. And you keep coming back." She moved aside anyway. The apartment was dim, just the glow of a single lamp and the faint hum of rain against glass. She sat down, arms wrapped around herself, looking somewhere just past me. "I heard your door close late last night," I said. "Thought maybe something was wrong." Her laugh was quiet, tired. "Something is wrong," she said. "Everything about this is." I hesitated, then sat across from her. "You mean us?" She met my eyes finally. "If there even is an us." The words should have stopped me. Instead, they landed like a dare. "Then why do you keep opening the door?" Her jaw tightened, but she didn't answer. Instead, she reached for the glass of water on the table, hand trembling just slightly. When I took it from her, our fingers brushed again. That same electric jolt, sharper now for all the times we pretended it meant nothing. She drew in a breath, shaky. "You don't know what this would cost me. Then tell me." She shook her head, voice breaking a little. "You're young. You think this is—" She stopped, searching for words. "You don't understand what it's like to already have a story people think they know. To be judged before you even say anything." I leaned forward. "I don't care what they think." "But I do," she said suddenly, the words fierce. Then quieter. "I always have." She looked down, eyes glinting under the soft light. Her hand was still close to mine, so close it was almost cruel. "Do you want me to stop coming here?" I asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she stood, slowly, and walked to the window. Rain streaked the glass, soft and endless. When I joined her, the air between us changed. Closer now, I could see the line of her neck, the curve of her shoulder beneath the loose fabric. She turned slightly, and I lifted a hand, just to brush a strand of hair from her face. She didn't move, didn't breathe. "You shouldn't," she whispered, but she didn't finish. My fingers lingered near her cheek, tracing the warmth there. She turned her head just enough that our foreheads almost touched. Her breath trembled against my skin. "Say something," I whispered. Her lips parted, a small, fragile movement, and she finally said, almost against my mouth, "I can't keep pretending I don't want this." The air cracked, thunder outside, or maybe just everything between us breaking open at once. Then a knock, loud.
Urgent.
We froze. Her eyes darted to the door. Mine stayed on her. Neither of us moved. The knock didn't stop. 3 sharp raps, then a voice, muffled but familiar.
Elena?
"You there?" She pulled back fast, the color draining from her face. I'd never seen her look so startled. It was her sister. Elena pressed a hand to her chest, whispering, "She can't see you here." I took a step back instinctively. The air that had been electric a second ago now felt tight, suffocating. She opened the door only a sliver. "Hey, what's wrong?" Her sister's voice drifted in, casual but probing. "I was worried. You haven't answered my calls. Thought I'd check in." "I've been tired," Elena said, forcing a smile I could hear more than see. "Just trying to get some rest." From where I stood, I could see the reflection in the window, her hand gripping the door, the tension in her shoulders. Her sister's gaze flicked past her, just briefly, toward the shadows of the room. And then her tone changed. "You're not alone, are you?" Elena's breath caught. "Don't start, please." I stayed still, every muscle locked. The rain outside seemed louder, pressing against the glass like it wanted in. Her sister sighed. "You promised you wouldn't make the same mistake again." That sentence landed like a stone between us. When the door finally closed, Elena stood there for a long moment, her back to me. Her hand slipped from the handle, trembling slightly. "What did she mean?" I asked. She didn't turn around. "It's nothing."
Elena.
She faced me then, eyes sharp, wet. "It's not nothing, fine. There was someone. Before. Younger too. It ended badly. People talked. I told myself I'd never let that happen again." Her voice cracked on the last word. "So you're scared I'm just another mistake?" She finished quietly. The silence that followed burned. I stepped closer, unsure if I wanted to comfort her or challenge her. Maybe both. "You think this feels like a mistake?" She looked at me, really looked. The distance we'd tried to keep dissolved in a heartbeat. "I don't know what it feels like anymore," she whispered. "I just know I can't breathe when you're here. And I can't think when you're not." The confession hung there, shaking the room. I moved closer, until she had to tilt her head to meet my eyes. "Then stop fighting it," I said. Her breath hitched. For a second, she didn't move. Then, without a word, she stepped past me. Close enough that her shoulder brushed mine, her scent following after like a ghost. She stopped at the doorway, one hand on the frame. "If I let this happen," she said softly, "I lose everything I've rebuilt." I turned toward her. "And if you don't?" Her lips parted, a tremor in her voice when she answered, "Then I lose you." Outside, thunder rolled again. Inside, everything that had been hidden was out in the open now. Fragile, dangerous, alive. And for the first time, neither of us looked away. The storm hadn't stopped. It rattled the windows, whispered under the doors. The kind of rain that made everything outside feel distant, almost erased. She came to my door this time.
No excuses. No pretense.
Just there, wet hair clinging to her face, eyes searching mine like she'd already made a decision and was terrified of it. I didn't speak. I just stepped aside. She crossed the threshold slowly, her sweater damp at the shoulders, her breath trembling. For a moment she just stood in the middle of the room, arms hanging loosely, as if letting go of everything she'd been holding in. "I tried to stay away," she said. "I really did." Her voice was low, the kind that finds you instead of asking to be heard. "I know," I said. When she looked up, something in her expression had changed, the hesitation gone, replaced by a quiet resolve. "You make me feel—" She stopped, searching for the right word, then gave up. "I don't even know what you make me feel." I took a step closer, then another. Our reflections blurred together in the window behind her. Two shapes, one distance apart. "You don't have to explain it," I said. Her laugh came out shaky. "But I do, because I'm not supposed to want this. Not at my age. Not with you." She pressed a hand against her chest, then against the wall, as if steadying herself. "I've spent years trying to be composed, careful. And you," she exhaled, eyes closing briefly, "you ruined that." Her words hit something deep in me. Not guilt, not pride, just recognition. Because she wasn't the only one undone by this. I reached out, my fingers brushing her sleeve, barely touching. She didn't move away. "Then maybe it's not something to fix," I said quietly. Her eyes opened. Rain light flickered across them, equal parts fear and want. We stood like that for what felt like forever, the storm pressing against the glass, the silence breaking only by the sound of our breathing. Then she moved, just a small step, enough that I could feel her warmth. Her hand found my face, hesitant but certain, thumb tracing the line of my jaw. "This is wrong," she whispered. "I know. Say we'll stop." I didn't. Her forehead touched mine, soft and trembling. The closeness was unbearable, every heartbeat, every breath sinking in the small space between us. And still, we didn't cross the line. Not yet, because what lived there wasn't just desire. It was everything else. Fear, regret, something that felt dangerously like hope. She finally pulled back, her hand lingering on my cheek. "We can't undo this," she said. "I don't want to." A small, broken smile touched her lips. "Then we'll have to live with it." And in that moment, rain outside, hearts steadying, we both understood. Whatever came next, it wouldn't be perfect or safe, but it would be real. The rain finally stopped sometime before dawn. I didn't sleep much. The world outside was washed clean, but inside, everything still hummed with the echo of last night. Her voice, her touch, the way she'd looked at me like she wanted to stop time but knew she couldn't. When the knock came, it was soft this time. I opened the door, and there she was again, hair damp from the mist, a hesitant smile tugging at her lips. No sweater tonight, just a simple gray coat and eyes that looked calmer. "Couldn't stay away?" I asked. She laughed quietly. "No, I couldn't." We didn't rush to fill the space with words. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her, and for the first time there wasn't any nervous distance between us. She stood close enough that I could see the faint line where tears might have dried, the softness in her expression that wasn't fear anymore. "I kept thinking," she said, "about what you said, about not fixing it." I nodded. "And?" Her shoulders rose and fell. "Maybe that's the point. Maybe not everything broken needs fixing. Maybe it just needs to be seen." The morning light was thin, the kind that makes everything look fragile but honest. I reached for her hand, and she didn't hesitate. Her fingers were warm this time. She looked down at them, then up at me. "I'm tired of hiding from what makes me feel alive," she said. "I don't want to be afraid of that anymore." The air between us felt softer now, still charged, but with something new underneath it, understanding. I brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "You sure about this?" She smiled, small, certain.
No.
"But I'm sure about you." It wasn't a kiss that followed. Not yet. Just a quiet leaning in, her head resting against my shoulder, her breath steady against my neck. The kind of closeness that didn't need words. We stood like that for a while, the light warming the room inch by inch. My hand moved to her back, slow and easy, and I could feel the tension leaving her body with each breath. "People will talk," she said, almost teasing now. "Let them," I answered. She tilted her head up, eyes soft. "You've changed me, you know?" I smiled. "You've changed me too." She leaned in then, finally. A kiss that wasn't rushed, wasn't reckless. Just real. Simple. The kind that happens when two people stop fighting themselves. When we pulled apart, the world felt lighter. No thunder, no guilt. Just us, two people standing in the aftermath of every reason not to, and doing it anyway. She exhaled, her forehead resting against mine. "Guess we'll figure the rest out. Together," I said, and for the first time that word didn't feel fragile. Felt like truth. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?